My name is Bryan Schimmel, and 4 decades and some ago, I was bullied at school, and badly bullied. And you may wonder and go, well, that was a long time ago. But whether it was 4 decades ago, a decade ago, 5 years ago, a year ago, a month ago, a week ago, bullying doesn't stop. So you have to ask yourself, what's changed?
I'm Clinton Fein, and I was a bully. In fact, Bryan's stutter was one of the many things that I bullied him about at school.
So to your point, KK, the reason why we are so impassioned about this after all these years is because we feel that people live with this very, very mercurial topic, that they live with it, that they tolerate it, they accept it, but nobody's actually dealing with it head on, certainly not in the way we are. And we say that because we are not psychologists or therapists. We are a lived experience who had a reconciliation 37 years after the fact. And should you be labeled a bully all your life? Or is there room for actually going, this is not who I am, it was a behavior? And that if we reframe bullying as behavioral, that can be changed at source.
Workplace, right? In business, in a professional setting, and some of the ways that we can actually overcome those, or number one, identify and then overcome those bullying tactics, scenarios, and of course behaviors that we sometimes overlook.
So, one of the things, bullying in the workplace manifests very differently. And one of the things that we point out often is that if you don't address bullying at school, both the victim and the bully don't have the tools. There isn't a process that enables them to deal with those. They don't just stop when school finishes. And so those are then taken into the workplace. And because we grow up and become more sophisticated, we have better ways of masking that it's bullying, or, as a victim, as a self-defense mechanism, understandably can be very passive-aggressive in that context and leverage things like zero tolerance policies or things like that inadvertently shift the power balance to the victim rather than creating an even playing field, because bullying is always a disproportionate abuse of power one way or the other. And then one of the approaches Bryan and I take, and sometimes it's controversial, especially in a workplace setting, is that the best way to deal with bullying incidents that happen in a workplace is firstly to understand what bullying is. Because in a workplace which is hierarchical, there's always going to be a disproportionate balance of power. But that doesn't mean that relationship is inherently a bullying victim relationship. And so it's very important for someone who has a boss or someone who is a superior in a corporate structure to understand that being and given instructions or having expectations of you is not bullying. Now, if that same person comes to work in a crappy mood and takes it out on you, that's different than wanting you to optimize your performance. And so it's very important, firstly, to understand those distinctions.
Guys, what are some of the subtle and maybe not so subtle ways that maybe we don't term or phrase as bullying, but is actually bullying in personal relationships that you've obviously identified, and how can we better recognize them and deal with them in terms of potentially being manipulated, abused, psychologically especially, and other ways. Do you mind giving us a little bit
Sure.
more perspective around that?
Well, the big one that happens in a lot of relationships is gaslighting. And it's a term I think a lot of people have heard, but might not properly understand what it means. Gaslighting is when you are putting your partner down, or your work colleague as well, but you're putting your partner down, but constantly and repeatedly. Now, I'm using that word there's quite specifically because bullying in definition is not just a once-off act. Bullying is calculated. It's repetitive, and it's designed to make somebody feel less than. So in gaslighting somebody, it's constantly saying that this is your fault. You should. Why did you do this? You can't take a joke. You know, I was only joking, but you can't take it. You know, and it's making them question their self-worth and their value. But it's done in such a way that they still somehow don't realize that they're being bullied, but they are.
Yeah.
And that is why you get people who sometimes don't even realize that is what is happening to them until a point comes where they finally break and they go, I can't believe that I didn't see this happening months ago or years ago.
The son that you were talking about is 29 now, right?
21.
So he's an adult. 21, yeah. Okay. But he's an adult. Yes. So at this point, who he's influenced by, who he's manipulated by, what relationships he wants to have or nurture or push away, it's now he's an adult. There's no choice. Like, you have to just respect one way or the other. But the question is, what, if you were showing an interest, etc., what changed? And at the time, the first time that you didn't get a report card, why did you accept that?
Yeah.
Why didn't you say, hey, what's going on here?
I'm now 60, as is Clinton. I look better. Sorry.
That's brilliant.
Yes, I have my opportunities of getting retribution. No, listen. I mean, let it be known to all your viewers that not only did we start bully dialogues, but we have miraculously become the best and the closest of friends. Anyway, but just in terms
and also
of
just quickly, and just one quick thing. And bullying is targeted, repetitive, and designed to cause harm. So it wasn't bullying. That's how you can tell the difference between banter and bullying, which we get asked all the time.
Yes.
Interesting. Thanks for sharing that.